So the very first thing that I want to talk about is just one of those fundamental building blocks of what we'll use to talk about, and that's boundaries. Um, Boundaries has become, at least in the community that I'm a part of, boundaries have become a very common concept for people to talk about, and hopefully all of this will be very familiar to you. But if not, then I think there will be something for you to learn, and if there is, then it'll get you a little bit closer to the that sense of freedom that I was talking about before. Um, so we can use the really common analogy, which is the physical boundary, a fence, around a piece of property. Uh, it's useful. We can have a clear sense of what's ours versus someone else's. Um, it's just a line, it's just an idea, but uh, the clearer it is, the easier it is to know uh, who's responsible for what. Um, Let me step back a second. A lot of what it is that I'm going to be talking about has to do with generalities, kind of core concepts, principles that will work for 80-90% of the time, I hope, for the vast majority of people. There will always be exceptions, of course, and we can deal with those when we're clear that we've got these fundamental lessons in place. Um, it I think that's one of the things that held me back in the past, thinking that what I considered to be an exception to the rule was so important, and until I could answer that, I wasn't going to listen to anything else. And it was really silly because I lost a lot of time looking for uh, an answer or a response to something that rarely happened, really. And all the while, all the things that were more common and more frequently occurring in my life, I was still kind of haphazard and reckless and confused. So, with regard to boundaries, um, like I said, we can have a very clear delineation between what's ours or mine and what's yours. Um, it's it doesn't prevent anything from happening, but if I'm vague about that or ambiguous, then there can be misunderstanding and miscommunication. um, uh, for better or worse, people come up with contracts, legal documents that delineate what is an agreement. Um, and hopefully, those agreements are clear enough that if some misunderstanding or dispute comes up, the contract will very clearly say what's yours and what's mine. And then the resolution can be very efficient and clear cut. And because it was a very deliberate agreement, um, there's no hard feelings. This is something that we signed up for. Um, Going back to the fence analogy, if I've got a piece of property, I can absolutely invite whomever it is I want onto my property. And they can absolutely come within my boundaries. And um, uh, the flip side works as well. I can step out, into someone else's boundary, but I have to be clear that I'm walking onto someone else's property. Um, and hopefully I'll have a sense of respect and graciousness when stepping into someone else's property, and not hold an attitude of arrogance or entitlement, like, well, I should be able to walk on this property. Um, the same thing kind of occurs with emotional boundaries. Um, if I'm clear about what my lines are, what's mine and what isn't, then in relationships, I can walk. I can live and breathe in a relationship comfortably because I know that I'm taking care of my side of the boundary. I'm taking care of my emotional responsibilities, and I can invite other people in to get as close as I feel comfortable or not. And I can interact with people as closely within my boundaries as I like. If I'm stepping out into someone else's emotional space, again, hopefully I'm going to have an attitude of graciousness and respect and understanding that they're allowing me into their emotional space. Uh, I hopefully am going to have